Next, we're on page 19. 8 verse mind training. The 8 verse mind training, as I mentioned earlier, it is primarily to activate a compassion. And compassion is the one which embraces others. Compassion is the one which embraces others. And to cultivate this quality of embracing others. Now, of course, what is the benefit of this? Finally, how do I get the benefit? All these questions will resolve later on. Say the idea is to cultivate compassion, we need to embrace others. Meaning, we need to be inclusive, embracing others. And what obstructs us, what forbids us from embracing others is the anger. And we need to have ways and means, one to cultivate embracing others, on the other hand to stop anger, stop the factor which stops us from embracing others. So, 8 verse of mind training. We see that this is a very beautiful, very concise, very short, at the same time very powerful teaching taught by Geshe Dorji Damdul. So there we see what is being taught there. Most of you already, I'm sure that most of you already, you are already aware of this text, familiar with this text. The distinction has to be made between self-confidence and self-referential ego. This distinction we have to make. Self-confidence and self-referential ego. In loose sense, self-referential ego means I, always, 24/7, I. This thought is known as self-referential ego. And the opposite of which is self-confidence. Self-confidence and self-referential ego. Oftentimes, these two are mistakenly perceived as synonymous. These two are mistakenly perceived as synonymous. The same, somebody, let's say that, oh, he is very self-confident, it may be indicating that the person is egoistic, very self-confident, implying that egoistic. And when you say, oh, he does not have, he has no ego, it's a nice way of saying that that person is totally a non-competent person, incompetent person, cannot do anything, right? Oh, no ego, which no ego means there is no self-confidence. Whereas high self-confidence means very egoistic. This is how we, the ordinary people, view. So now, what we need to do is that we need to first of all distinguish the two things, self-confidence and self-referential ego. We have to distinguish the two things and then learn. The next step is learn how to boost self-confidence and how to undermine self-referential ego. Because we see the finally what we want is we want happiness. Okay, what do you want? I want happiness. And some people may argue with me saying that, oh, that's very selfish. Yes, that's true. But we have to begin from where we are. If you're born, the first word that you say is, how can I benefit others? If this is how we are born, amazing, your exception. You don't need to come to Jambi retreat, right? Whereas we are all born crying. When we get the mother's milk, you are happy, you stop crying. The moment we are cut off from the mother, we start crying. This is how we are born. So if this is the category where we belong, then we have to start from there. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that the happiness which we seek, somehow we learn over the next few days that the happiness that we seek, somehow they're grounded on the self-confidence, including achieving the total perfection, total awakening, total Buddhahood, total happiness. Even that is grounded on self-confidence. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. May I become Buddha. When you make this commitment, I will become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. So courageous, such a confident tremendous confidence here. So we see that all the good, all happiness that we seek, all the good things that we seek, somehow they're grounded on self-confidence. So self-confidence is never to be undermined, is never to be taken lightly. Self-confidence is so important. Meanwhile, the other side is self-referential ego. Self-referential ego is the one which attracts all our miseries. So within the self-referential ego, so at the moment I'm going through very loosely. Within the self-referential ego, there are two sides. There are two parts to it. Self, meaning self-grasping. Ego has a connotation that I am more important than you, right? Self-centeredness. Self-referential ego. Self, connoting this self-grasping, seeing the self as so objectively real. Okay, those of us here who are new to this, don't worry. It's just, initially I'm just throwing these, say the words, the technical terms, so that eventually when we study, and these words will become already familiar to you and it is easy for you. Don't worry at all. So, self-referential ego, it has two sides. One is self-grasping ignorance, and the other one is self-centered attitude. Self-centered attitude. So these two things combined together becomes self-referential ego in a loose sense. Now, this self-referential ego, in other words, in a loose sense, in the conventional, in the worldly sense, we say, oh, this person is very egoistic. So that is a self-referential ego. The more egoistic the person is, more unhappy the person. Keep this in mind. In other words, all our miseries, somehow they are attracted by self-referential ego. So, and don't think that, oh, I have miseries, which means I'm very egoistic. Don't think like this. So how the ordinary people consider as egoistic is, when the degree of the ego is more than 50%, then people see you as egoistic. When the degree of ego is 50%, people see you as normal. When the degree of ego is less than the 50%, either they will see you as weak person, or they will see you as enlightened being, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There are only two choices, right? If you remain 50%, then people see that you are normal, right? Whereas above 50, then they will describe you as egoist. In other words, all those who are suffering samsara, how many of us are in samsara? Okay, all of those who are in samsara, we have some degree of self-referential ego. We have to admit that. Yet don't feel demoralized, because this is not you. The fact that we have miseries is because of this ego, self-referential ego. And this self-referential ego is not you. The true nature of you is so pure, so perfect. It does not have any flaw, it does not have any fault. Right? So the true nature has to be activated by discarding the ego, the defilements, such as the self-referential ego. You're getting it? In other words, self-referential ego. What we want is happiness. What we dislike is miseries. The miseries which we dislike and happiness which we like, they are all, again, the manifestation of your own mind, how we experience. I experience happiness, I experience unhappiness, right? And then, of course, happiness, unhappiness within you, there's also a lot to do with your physiological experiences. Physiological experiences, genetic makeup, genetically, some people, they have this tendency for depression more easily. Some people less prone to depression, so forth. Genetic compositions, then the biological compositions, then physiology, emotional, then the emotions and the environment, all these factors are there. So what I'm saying is that what we don't like is suffering, and the suffering is attracted by one factor, is a mental factor. Happiness is what we like. Even that happiness is also attracted by mental state. So that mental state which is responsible for attracting all the good qualities, happiness, somehow they are rooted to self-confidence. And the miseries which we dislike, somehow they are attracted by self-referential ego. So, first thing that we need to do is separate the two. So what we have to know exactly what is self-confidence, what is self-referential ego. After knowing this, Then see how to boost self-confidence, how to undermine self-grasping ignorance. So somebody say ordinary and saints, enlightened beings. How do you distinguish the two? Very simple. The gap, just see to the gap between the ego and the self-confidence. Greater the gap, the person is more enlightened. Lesser the gap, these two are more synonymous, more together, the person is ordinary. Right? So someone who can make the gap wider and wider, boost self-confidence more and more, and then undermine the self-referential ego more and more, you become enlightened being. Finally, self-referential ego, make it 0, and self-confidence, make it 100%. You become fully enlightened. Right? So oftentimes, the Buddha is described as someone who is fearless. No fear. Right? Because there is no fear, so confident. What makes us have no confidence? It's because if I do this, what might happen? There's a tinge of fear coming. So this fear tells us how confident we are, how less confident we are. So because the Buddha has already overcome the fears altogether, so confident, yet ego is 0. So that is the full enlightened being, right? So with this in mind, we see that ego, self-referential ego, is the one which attracts all the miseries. Self-confidence is the one which attracts all happiness. And when we go through miseries, it doesn't mean that you are such a hopeless person. You are gone now, right? You're finished. This is not the idea. And then some people may think that particularly miseries befall on us back to back, right? One after the other. Then we think that the life is so gloomy, everything is so gloomy, there's no hope. Okay, so then what we do is we have to look for ways and means. Come to know that, look, okay, this self-referential ego, as long as it is there, it has a tendency to attract all the miseries, feeling of gloominess, feeling of low, then feeling of lethargy, and so forth. Whereas with the self-confidence, it can constantly give rise to greater and greater happiness. This is the confidence that we need to have. And at times, some people, they go through depression. And we might, from what you are learning now, you might get the impression that those who go through depression, they have more self-referential ego. That's not true. That's not true. Keep that in mind. Right? Say, self-referential ego is somehow with all of us. With all of us, including myself. We do have and this is the one which attracts the miseries. Now, with this, then the other circumstances, other factors, like genetic makeup, can also play a role. And then say, you encounter with constant, back-to-back, constant bad news, tragedies, one after the other, right? So that can then add to depression, throw us into depression, and so forth. It doesn't mean that someone who is into depression has a greater degree of self-referential ego, and those who do not have the depression, they have less degree of self-referential ego. This is not true, right? Okay, so this is qualification that I need to make here. Now, this self-referential ego, it can oftentimes, self-referential ego means I am more important than you. So naturally, this self-referential ego is the one which segregates the two, you and I. And then naturally, attachment to the I and aversion towards others, that happens. So this aversion is the one which pushes others away from you. So that is anger. Anger, aversion, hatred, these are the ones which push others away from you. So when it pushes others away from you, then what happens? That you don't love others. When you don't love others, others will not love you. You become lonely and then you suffer. Right? So that way, we see that anger is the one. Anger is the manifestation. It's like the first minister. the main minister of this self-referential ego, right? It manifests in the form of anger. Then anger pushes others away from you, and then eventually you end up in the loneliness and miseries. Now with this, what we need to do is that while cultivating through the two methods to generate the unconditional love for others, meanwhile try to curb the negative forces which impede our cultivation of compassion towards others. That is anger. We have to see how to cut the anger. And the 8 Ways of Mind training, which we are reading now, so there it's primarily to cut our self-referential ego and to cut its offshoot in the form of anger. Once the anger subsides, what happens? What pushes others away? That mind, the busy mind, the mind which is busy pushing others away from you, that stops. When that stops, what happens? Then the mind relaxes. When the mind relaxes, then the mind has the chance to embrace others. When you push others, it's impossible that you can embrace others. So, when this mind, anger, which pushes others away from you, when that stops, then the mind becomes relaxed and gains energy to embrace others. So the love naturally flows. Naturally flows when the anger subsides. So this is the 8 Ways of Mind training is primarily to subdue the self-referential ego and its offshoot in the form of anger, so that it leaves room for the same unconditional love and affection towards others. Okay, this is a very powerful teaching, one. And okay, and then if you turn to page 21, we added this stanza. Saying, thus far, 8 Ways of Mind training, they mainly subdue our self-referential ego. And at times some people, unless such clarification is made, some people think that okay, by reading 8 Ways of Mind training, it made me even low. Already I don't have a self-esteem. Now by reading this, okay, may all happiness goes to others, may I be the loser, may the victory goes to others, then I already have miseries, now more miseries befallen me. This is the misunderstanding many people have. This is okay. So this is not to subdue you. It is not to subdue you. It is subdue our self-referential ego, which creates miseries on you. Right? So this, we have to make a distinction between I and my self-referential ego. It is not subduing you. It is subduing the self-referential ego. Then it is on this basis that never ever have a feeling of self-hate. Because this self is so important. What is bad? If you really want to hate someone, hate the self-referential ego. Don't hate the self. Self is so precious. Because this self, the only hope lies in this self. Because this self can eventually become Buddha. This self is the one which can finally liberate you. This self can finally liberate all other sentient beings. This self is so precious. Don't ever have self-hate. If you really want to hate someone, hate self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude. These two thoughts, right? And then with this awareness, with this knowledge, when you are with your family members, when you're with your friends, and somebody going through difficult times, and then they tend to have a self-hate, always encourage them, help them to distinguish these two things and tell them that you are not this, you are not the one who attracts miseries. Within you there is this evil force. This self-grasping ignorance, self-centered attitude is not just with you, even with me. Everyone has it, right? So we hate this. Don't hate yourself. You are so precious, right? So this is how we need to encourage others and inspire others. Okay, so the 8 Ways of Mind training, this is primarily to subdue this self-referential ego. And then within that, the last stanza, stanza 8, it does have the teaching to boost our self-confidence, but to boost self-confidence in a very rigorous, dynamic way. We added this stanza from Lama Tsongkhapa's the 11 prayer. That is primarily to boost our self-confidence, right? Okay. Then let us turn to page 22. Page 22. So why I'm saying this is because from tomorrow morning we're going to do the whole prayer, the morning session. For this morning session, I'm not going to explain the details. Otherwise, it will take a lot of time. So I'm explaining now. So that from tomorrow morning, we will straight away do the practice, meditation, all these things straight away, right? Okay. So I'm sharing with you the reasons why we are using these the prayers, these stanzas, and these small the texts and so forth. If you know the reason, then you'll find joy in it, right? And then that when we finish our retreat and in your own place, you will know how to design your own lifelong practice. Lifelong practice, you will see, oh, this is meaning, that is a benefit, so I have to do this. You will know exactly, and you can also inspire others. You can also teach others. When somebody is doing a whole lot of prayers out of prayers, 4 hours, and the person literally, because of the heavy loaded prayers, and the person becomes so angry, easily agitated, right? And this prayer is meant to cool down. Now it's agitating you, right? Which means the person is lacking the skillfulness. So once you know the purpose, why we should be doing, what are the things required, right? When you come to the retreat, okay, say, like say for example, table clock, if you want a table clock, don't bring 2 table clock, 1 is enough. Retreat, for it short term, 1 is enough. You will not carry 2, you will take 1. Because 1 is with the extra weight. You're getting it? Likewise, there are so many prayers. You do 1, that suffices doing many other prayers. If you know these things, then you will not be deloaded. Then you have enough time left. So this time then you can use for practice, actual meditation. Because reading the prayers per se will not really make you to reach high level. So to reach the high level, you should actually mentally meditate. Meditate on emptiness. Meditate on bodhicitta. Meditate on the shamatha single-pointedness. So we need time to meditate. So if you spend like 4 hours a day reading and then I cannot finish this, right? Rush through. When will you meditate? Right? So if you keep on reading, say the mantra chant, right? Mantra chant, which says, Om Yedarma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Dishandatagadoi. You keep reciting it. What is the meaning there? This mantra tells you what? All miseries arise from their respective causes, and the causes are indicated by the Buddha, right? And the cessational causes as well is taught by the great seer. The cessational causes, how to bring an end to the causes of the miseries. It is to bring an end to the ignorance. So how to bring an end to the ignorance is through cultivating wisdom. So we have to cultivate wisdom. We have to cultivate wisdom. You say it 100,000 times. You are not cultivating it. You're wasting your time, right? So you say it for some time. I have to cultivate wisdom. Then the rigor, the desire to cultivate wisdom becomes very intense. Then you spend a little time, 5 minutes. It suffices meditating for like 2 hours because the rigor is there. So that chant helps you to make you rigorous because you recite it with the meaning, right? Okay, so that way the purpose, once you know the purpose of doing all what we're doing now, then on that basis you can help many other people also. Because I personally know that there are so many people who just spend lots and lots of time reciting the text and no time for practice. That's very unfortunate. Okay, in fact, there's one person, a distant relative, and he's a very pious man. One day he came to me and told me that I have been doing these prayers for the last more than 20 years. Right? More than 20 years. Now from my personal experience of 20 years in reading this, I see that mentally there's no change within me. He said it. Mentally there's no change, there's no transformation. Who I was 20 years ago was the same person. There was no transformation within me. Tell me, what's wrong? What wrong? Where did it go wrong? This was what he said. And then I asked him, what have you been doing? And he has been doing the whole list of the prayers were there. Like at least 2-3 hours prayers there. And then I said, okay, fine. So from the list of these prayers, tell me which are your commitments, which you committed yourself from your gurus, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and other gurus. Then he indicated, marked all those things. So these I cannot touch. If you have 4 hours of commitments, I cannot touch. Right? Okay. Now, besides these, what he has been doing, I cut down on them and make it very short. And then the time left, I taught him how to do the meditation on bodhicitta, how to do meditation on emptiness. And then within like 1 month, he reported that, wow, this is amazing. I did not really know that this is the purpose of the dharma. It's so amazing. Now I can feel joy day by day. I feel the joy that transformation is taking place within me. That he started to feel that. He's a very pious person. Right? Okay. So with this, page 22, this is the 7-limb puja. 7-limb puja means, we are undertaking journey of gade, para samgade, bodhisattva. Journey of the mind from the ordinary state to the highest purified version of the enlightenment. We are undertaking this journey. To undertake this journey, what should be done is that the road must be very clear. The road must be journey. Where you undertake the journey, the road must be very clear. If the road is blocked here and there because of landslide and so forth, then you cannot have a smooth journey. Your journey has to be interrupted. So road must be very clear. So our mind is the road of the enlightenment. Our mind is the road of enlightenment. So this mind must be clear of the blockage. Like what? Mental defilements. So the best way by which to do the mental defilements is through confessing the negativities. Confessing the negativities, and there are other means also. Okay, one is that we have to clear the road. Now, once the road is very clear, then the vehicle should run. And for the vehicle to run, a vehicle needs fuel. Right? The road is clear, but if the vehicle does not have the fuel, again you remain stagnant, you can't move at all. So the vehicle needs fuel. So again, your mind is the vehicle. Your mind is the vehicle which travels from gate, para. Gate means go. Don't remain in samsara. From samsara, go towards the next step. Towards the still next step, and eventually towards Buddhahood. Go beyond, go utterly beyond, and establish your enlightenment. This is the meaning of gate, para samgade Buddhism. So for this journey, we should make sure that 2 things happening. One is that the road where on the basis of which the journey is taking place, this road must be clear of the obstacles. Number 2, the vehicle which moves, with the help of which you take the journey, this vehicle should have enough fuel, right? So our mind is the vehicle. It should have enough fuel of the merit. We should have enough fuel of merit. And the Buddhas reflected over for a long time, they unanimously come to know that the best way by which to clear the obstacles of the journey on the road, the obstacles on the road while undertaking the journey to enlightenment, and the best way by which to accumulate so much of merit to fuel this mind to undertake this journey to enlightenment, this 7-limb puja is seen as the most effective means. So what we are doing here is a 7-limb puja. So which consists of, first one is making prostrations. Number 2 is making offerings. Okay, making offerings. So what we are physically doing from tomorrow, so this we will explain after this. The making offerings. Number 2. Then number 3 is confessing the negativities. Right? The first one, making prostrations, this is more for clearing the obstacles. Then the making offering is more for accumulating merit. Then number 3, confession is directly to clear the obstacles, clear the mental negativities. Next one is rejoicing. Rejoicing in the virtues of others. That is primarily to accumulate enormous merit. Rejoicing in the virtues of others. So Lama Tsongkhapa very clearly indicated that one action which requires least effort and most effective in accumulating merit within a very short span of time is rejoicing in the virtues of others. Rejoicing in the virtues of Buddhas, rejoicing in the virtues of the Bodhisattvas, rejoicing in the virtues of all your Sangha members, people who are around you. You see that someone is studying so well, somebody is practicing, somebody is attempting to help others, so forth. You rejoice in these good deeds. So there you accumulate enormous merit while you don't really physically have to engage in exactly the way the other person is doing. So it says that, for example, this is very important. Say, for example, His Holiness the Dalai gives the Shri Kalachakra empowerment, and then lakhs and lakhs of people gather there, and maybe you are also there, right? How many of you are there? You were there once, right? Okay, so let's say you were there, and then the donors form the main sponsors for the Shri Kalachakra empowerment, and they get the chance to offer mantala to His Holiness, and then you are sitting there as one of the lakhs of the people there in the crowd, right? And you are seeing what is happening there, and you also wish how I wish if I also get the chance to be there to offer mantala to His Holiness, right? Okay, so by sitting there, instead of feeling jealous towards that person, if you rejoice, wow, it's so amazing, it's so good. It is because of these people who are so generously sponsoring this event, this Shri Kalachakra empowerment, that lakhs of people get the opportunity to receive teachings from His Holiness. It's amazing. So thank you. We have been so thankful to all of you. Instead of jealousy, you rejoice. So there, you believe it or not, the text says that if your spiritual realization and the donor who has actually accumulated merit by sponsoring the event, if his or her spiritual realization and your spiritual realization, if these two are equal, if this is the equal level, then in unit, I don't know what the unit is, right? In unit, if the merit accumulation of that person is like 10 billion units, you also accumulate the same amount without having to even spend one $1. You accumulate the same amount of merit just by sitting there and rejoicing. You accumulate the same amount of merit, right? And whereas if you want to accumulate a little less than that, then what you do is that your spiritual realization, if it is less than the donors, in a very generic sense, if your spiritual realization a little less than the donors, then the donor accumulate 10 million units of the merit, then you accumulate half of that. Whereas if you want to accumulate more than the donor, then you should cultivate your spiritual realization even more. Make sure that your spiritual realization is higher than the donors. Then the donor accumulate, say, 10 million units. You accumulate 10 million units into 2. Without doing anything, you just by sitting, rejoicing, wholeheartedly rejoicing in the others, the generously sponsoring this great teaching on the Shri Kalachakra empowerment, you're accumulating double the merit the other person has accumulated. So this is the amount of the benefit. So this is greatly, virtuous and very meaningful for us. So therefore, see how much we can always try to cut down on our, jealousy, and see how much we all try to learn how to rejoice in others' goodness, right? This is so important. Okay. Then next one is requesting for teachings. Requesting for, okay, rejoicing is to multiply your merits, to increase the fuel of the journey, increase your merit to undertake this journey of enlightenment. Next one is requesting for teachings. Requesting for teachings. So that falls under both category. Teachings to cleanse our mental defilements, to cleanse our negativities, and to enrich our virtues. So that falls under both category. The next one is requesting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to remain till all sentient beings achieve enlightenment. So that is again, that is more on accumulative merit. And then finally, dedicating virtues. So dedicating virtues is so important. So if you dedicate the virtues to cleanse your negativities, then it turns toward that purpose. And if you dedicate the virtues towards proliferating your virtues or your merits, then that accordingly it proliferates your virtues. So this 7 puja, this is so important. This is so important. So this is what we do from tomorrow morning. Okay. At the summation of the 7 puja of there, and 7 puja, there are so many versions. This is not the only one. There are so many versions, right? There's so many versions on the basis of the different deities, Shri Kalachakra, Shri Guya Samacha, Shri Hivachara, then Shri Vajrakilaya, Shri Vajrapariva, Shri Chakra Samvara, right? There's so many versions are there. And then within the different traditions, on the basis of Guru Padmasambhava, on the basis of Lama Tsongkhapa, on the basis of Thakpal Hache, on the basis of Sajin Kunga Nyingbo, Sakya Pandita, all different versions are there. And Tibet House, we compiled the one from the Sutra. So that it can be more universal, that anybody can use it. So we deliberately compiled it from Sutra, right? Okay. And the summary of all what we, of all these 7 puja is the stanza number 12. Stanza number 12 is the summary. In case, in your practice, daily practice, if you see that you don't have much time, there's constraint of time in your practice, then instead of reading all these things, you can read the last stanza. Last stanza as to suffice your engaging in the 7 puja practice. Okay. The next, 26. 26, short mandala offering. So mandala offering practice. So from tomorrow we are not going to waste much time with this hand gesture. Okay, how many of you know this hand gesture? Okay, how many of you don't know this hand gesture? Tell me. Just raise your hands. Now raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jum, you don't know? Okay, same. There are several of you. It doesn't matter. What we do is that, okay, Jum, I would say, okay, raise hands those who do not know this. Okay, Tarala will teach Vinita, right? Okay, Carrie will teach Adora, right? Bidila will teach, your name? Bevelin. Okay, Bidila will teach Bevelin. Bidila, right? Not now, during the break time, right? Okay, so anyone else? Is over there? Okay, yes. So you have two, right? Okay, 2. Then one over there. Okay, one over there. Say the Poglan. Poglan will teach 2 of them, right? Okay, make sure that you know your teachers. Okay, anyone else? Raise your hands who did not. Anyone else who doesn't know the hand gesture? Okay, now I'm not responsible. My job is done. I've already handed over the teachers, right? Okay, so this hand gesture, okay, keep in mind that mandala offering, you may be wondering, what is mandala offering? Mandala has numerous connotations. Mandala, it is like, say one is the abode of the deities. Abode of the palace of the deities. Palace of the deity. Deities meaning enlightened beings. The palace where the deities reside. So that is one connotation. Number 2 is mandala in the form of the universe, whole universe. And then and then your body is the mandala. There's so many connotations. Now when we speak about the mandala offering, it is you're offering everything good that you possess and that universe possess. Everything good the universe has, you offer them to all the enlightened beings, beseeching them to please grant us blessings so that my Buddha nature is activated and I become enlightened to benefit all other sentient beings. So this is the idea. Now, this gesture, what is this gesture? So this gesture is just very symbolic. Very symbolic. In the middle, this symbolizes Mount Meru. And on the 4 sides symbolize the 4 continents. So this is the cosmology according to the classical Indian philosophical traditions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, right? So this is just their version of the cosmology. Now that we see the universe as very different, it's not exactly like this. We don't worry whether it exists or not, it doesn't matter, right? So the idea is, with this gesture, which many of the great saints and many of the people, they engaged in this gesture and made offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas like this. So by just following this gesture, we are like holding the lineage. Then number 2, with this gesture, what we do is that everything the universe has, everything good the universe has, I'm offering them to all the enlightened beings. So if you can do this, that fulfills the purpose, right? Okay. Now, after making the offering of the mandala, then we make we make requests. Finally, when we say after offering, then what for you are doing this? Well, is for to make requests. Request what? There can be so many kinds of requests. So there are 2 sets of requests here. One which is compiled by the Venerable Gampopa, one of the chief students of Jesu Milarepa, right? So that we included, that is very powerful. Which says, may I be blessed that my mind is directed towards the dharma. It means that my mind, if there is a choice between dharma and non-dharma, may mind be directed towards the dharma. 1, right? Okay. The next, may I be blessed that my dharma practice is on the proper path. So the dharma. Okay, somebody is teaching about, say, black magic, and says, oh, this is they came from the Buddha. Oh, it's dharma, it's wonderful. Then you go there, you're going on a wrong direction. So it says that, may I be blessed that my dharma practice is on the proper path, right? Number 3, may I be blessed that the path is freed of flaws. Meaning that, okay, now I'm in the proper path. Proper path, for example, say the wisdom of emptiness, or let's say meditation impermanence, or let's say the breathing meditation. And then if you get the feeling that the breathing meditation is the complete path, you don't need anything else. Or if you say that the meditation impermanence is a complete path, you don't need anything else, that is wrong. That is wrong. It is part of it, right? There are many more facets. If you enjoy, say, birthday party, right? And then your mother says, okay, today I'll throw a party for you. And what's a party? All the food is just pizza all the time. Only pizza, nothing else. It's not a party at all, right? If you really want to make it a party, then there should be diversity of food there. Many kinds of food, varieties of food should be there. Likewise, in order to achieve enlightenment, there are so many facets of the path required to make it complete, to take you there. So it is for this reason that say the path should be, they might be blessed that the path is free of flaws. The path, say when you actually go into the path, then say Bodhicitta, then wrong, not the appropriate path, not the appropriate method, but different method which does not really take you there. Or the wisdom of emptiness, you go into a very partial understanding of emptiness, and you think that this is the emptiness, and then you get stuck there. And likewise, shamatha meditation. Then you go to some kind of practice and you think that this is shamatha meditation. Actually, it may not be true, right? So that way, that my path may be freed of all the flaws. Now, what happens if you do come across the flaws? Then it says, may I be blessed that the flaws are seen in the light of exalted wisdom. Say, for example, for your birthday, if you get a birthday gift and you open the gift and you see this as a statue of a demon, what is that? What is that gift? Is it good or bad? It's like a flaw. Well, it's not a good gift. It's a flawed gift. But you check it, it's made of diamond. Then what will you do? You'll throw this, you'll be very happy, so happy, right? When it's a diamond, it doesn't matter whether it's the demon or it's a house or it's toy or whatever, it doesn't matter. The diamond counts, not the shape, right? Okay, when you are with the flaw, may I be able to see the flaw in the form of the exalted wisdom. Even the flaw is of the vibration of the wisdom. Right? It's of the nature of emptiness. May I be able to see the flaw as the nature of emptiness. Right? Okay. So this is a very powerful practice taught by the Thakpa Laji Rinpoche. And then the next four, this set of the next four requests, actually came from one of my teachers. Some of you already know that. Venerable Genlam Rinpa. Venerable Genlam Rinpa. Jeffrey, you heard about Genlam Rinpa already? Okay. Amazingly great practitioner, and spent almost more than half of his life in solitary retreat, and highly really amazing. And you see him in the hut, meditation hut. In his hut, he's just a simple monk. When you see in the public, he just stands out with the glow. You won't believe. It's amazing. Okay, the glow of compassion is amazing. So this primarily came from him, and then so what I modified here and there, because what I got is more like a very just 4 lines, and then because that I was with him he passed away already. He passed away, very unfortunate for us, and because of being with him, I know his many of his thought, the processes. So I put them together and made it in the form of another set of 4 requests, which is very important. Finally, these 4 comprise the composed of what is known as the 4+1. The morning which we discussed, the 4+1. This is more like the summary of what we should be doing. It should be like a reminder for us as we read this. Every morning, this should be a reminder for us that these are the things that I should be doing in order to make the most out of my life, to give a meaning, to extract meaning out of my life. I should be doing this. Should be a big reminder for us. Okay, so it says that becoming frustrated with ignorance that grasps at true existence, please bless me to generate genuine renunciation. In fact, each of these words here, words and the lines, they're loaded with meanings. They're loaded with meanings. And if you read it just now, other than those who are already into, say, the many years of studies, reflections, so forth, if you read it, you may not get much sense out of what you are reading. And then, say, the next few days, we study, we meditate, we practice, then you see that this is so meaningful, right? Okay. Becoming frustrated with ignorance, the grasp at true existence, please bless me to generate genuine renunciation of seeing all aspects of samsara as viciously repulsive. So these the 3 lines, they tell us about the renunciation. What exactly is renunciation? Even the meaning is reflected there, not just word renunciation, the meaning. And the meaning in its truest form, meaning in its most subtlest form, which says becoming frustrated with the ignorance that grasps at true existence. So this we will learn the next few days, and you will see that it's amazingly summarized here. Okay, number 2. Please bless me that my mind stream overflows with the precious Bodhicitta that cherishes others more than myself. Next is Bodhicitta. Number 3 is, please bless me to have an immaculate experience of the wisdom of emptiness that does not see even an atom of intrinsic reality on the basis of understanding how things come into being by dependent origination through mere conditioning. Okay, so again, this is very comprehensive. What exactly is emptiness? What exactly is the ultimate reality? Right? So all the meanings and everything is included there in this line. Then finally, please bless me that my mind stream overflows with the precious wisdom of the non-duality of bliss and emptiness. This is the Tantra. Tantra. So this, implicitly, the shamatha is included here. Number 4, implicitly shamatha. Shamatha meaning single point of meditation. This morning we're discussing about the 4.4 plus 1. The number 4 is the 5th one. Within that, the 4th one is implicitly included. The fourth one is what? Single pointed meditation. So that is implicitly included there. So this constitutes the 4 plus 1 practice, right? Okay. Then when we say Idam, Guru, Ratna, Mendel, so the teachers allocated, your job is to also teach the gesture of how to dissolve the mantala. Whatever offering that you made, then in the end, after making the request, then you say the last line, which says, Idam, Guru, Ratna, Mendra, Lagam, Niratyami. What you do is then, you just hand gesture, you dissolve, dismantle this hand gesture, turning towards your heart. Idam, Guru, Ratna, Mendra, Lagam, Niratyami. So what it is doing, what exactly you're doing, is that whatever you've offered, now the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they're all already accepted. Now they give you back in the form of blessings, and then you receive them in the form of blessings by receiving them in the form of blessings towards your heart. Finally, where you're going to activate this wisdom, where you're going to activate this compassion, where you're going to activate this non-duality, bliss and emptiness, is all happening at the very subtle level of the energy psychophysical complex. Very subtle level of the psychophysical complex. Psycho is the subtle energy, subtle mind, and the physical is the subtle physical, is subtle energy. So which resides, subtlest of the energy and the mind resides at the heart, not the biological heart. Not the biological heart. Biological heart is tilted a little towards the left side, right? Little twist. So it's just at the mid, say 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeter within the spinal cord, and where it's just at the mid of the cross section at the heart, where the biological heart is, at the mid, and you go inside. So there lies the spot where this subtle energy and the subtle mind resides. Okay, so there you're receiving all these blessings from Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the form of they say, in order to activate this subtle energy and subtle the mind which resides in the heart. To activate that, so where the Buddha nature becomes manifest. Okay. Then page 28. Page 28. Page 28 is foundation of all good qualities. And now with all up to this point is the preliminaries. Up to this point is preliminaries done. Now, with having done the preliminaries, what should be the main practice? What should I be actually doing? So this is the foundation of all good qualities, which has 14 stanzas. So this will tell us what we should be doing, what practice we should be doing from scratch till enlightenment. From scratch till enlightenment, what are the things to be done? So this is all so beautifully encapsulated in these 14 stanzas. So this is the main practice. Okay. Then the next one, 32. Page 32. Page 32 is the heart essence of our being together here. Page 32 and below is the heart essence of what we should be doing, of being together here in Jambi for the Bodhicitta retreat. Okay, so this is the essence. Then later on I'll try my best to look for time to make sure that we get time to discuss on what should be our daily practice, right? What should be daily practice? And don't think that now again he's going to give another additional practice. I already have so many things to do. Okay, Don't worry. So what I'm going to share with you is to simply tell you what should be a daily practice like, and then within that, then you can incorporate whatever you've been doing, incorporate in there. So I'll just give you an open container. This should be the container, shape of the container. Then you put in everything there from what you've been doing. Right? Don't worry that I'm going to give you something extra. There's nothing extra there, right? And I'm also not so keen on giving extra things. Okay, so the practice, how to design your daily practice. How do you design daily practice? If you have 1 hour a day, then what should you do? If you have only half an hour a day, what should I do? Then shorter one. And what if I have only 10 minutes? Even shorter. What if I have only 5 minutes? Even shorter. 5 minutes, right? What if I have only 1 minute? I can't do anything. Yeah, the 5 minutes, the last, right? At least 5 minutes. So this is like a dose. The dose for healing. A dose for healing for this life and for the next lives. So, to destroy ourselves, we spend a lot of money to destroy ourselves, right? We go to buy burger and the pizza, all these things to destroy body, right? And we spend a lot of money. First of all, we work so hard, hours and hours, work so hard, then go to buy these things and actually consume these poisons inside. To destroy ourselves, we spend a lot of time, a lot of money. Now, to heal us, we said, I don't have even 5 minutes. So that is pathetic. So be wise, be kind with yourself, be wisely kind with yourself, right? Okay, there's no harm in working. In fact, you have to work. We have to work, right? We have to have a job. That is very important. Meanwhile, don't forget that you are not just this body. More important than your body is your mind. We should know how to take care of our mind. For that matter, we need, just as to take care of the body, we need to work 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, right? And to take care of our mind, at least give like, say, 10, 20, 1 hour a day. That is so important. That is so important, right? Okay, so this is what we should be doing for the purpose. And then there are, let's say, okay, now we are almost done with the basic intro of what we're going to do in the mornings. Page 20. Okay, page 20. And feel free, as from tomorrow, except for few things which are very important, I'll not explain. We'll just straight away do the press, and this is self-explanatory. We don't have to worry too much. Meanwhile, there are some technical things. Now, for example, say, page 20, stanza 8, line 2. Page 20, stanza 8, line 2. It says, by the stains of the 8 mundane concerns. Some of you may be wondering what is 8 mundane concerns. Then, if you don't know this, you don't know this. There's no clue. You cannot guess. So these things, there are some of them. I'll try to, what I've noted them down, I will share with you now. And then still there are for sure more. So those things, and there are the number of the participants here, like say we have Wenla here and many others here, right? So what I would suggest is that you try to interact during the group discussions, and other times you interact with others and try to learn as to what these technical things are. That will be very helpful. Okay, let's say those things which are quickly marked here, 8 mundane concerns. Most of you know this already. So basically we see that we are weak. We are weak, and we should make ourselves strong. In what way we are weak? Physically we may be strong, but we are still weak. In what way weak? Because we are so vulnerable. We are so vulnerable. In what way we are vulnerable? We don't have the freedom. We don't have the freedom. You're getting it? And loss of freedom is misery, right? Okay. How many of us here, including myself, how many of us here want to age? Yeah, how many of us here want to age? Right? We don't want. And yes, how many here we can stop aging? We cannot. Which means we don't have the freedom to control our aging. We don't have the freedom to control our sickness. We don't have the freedom to control the death. We don't have the freedom to control our, say, all forms of dissatisfactions. Right? For example, if you're very thirsty, and if there is the cool Coca-Cola there, our hand will automatically grab there. We have no choice. We have no freedom to remain firm, calm, right? We are forced to run towards that. We lost our freedom. Loss of freedom is the greatest misery, right? Greatest misery. So our job is to identify that I am weak. I should be stronger. I'm weak. In what way weak? Weak in terms of not having the freedom. Whatever I like to do, I cannot do it. I don't want to age, but I age. I remember when I was, I think, age 6 or 7. Some of you must have already heard that in the recordings. Right? Age 6 or 7, I remember myself. My hand was so beautiful. When I was age 6, I was so mesmerized by seeing my hand. I could still remember the place where, I was just leaning against my hand, put on the wall. Suddenly I saw my hand. It's so exquisitely beautiful. Complexion, the feature, it was so beautiful, mesmerized by it. Now it is no more there. It is bit. I simply wanted to have that same hand, but I don't have the freedom to have it. Right? So, we don't have the freedom. Loss of freedom is misery. Misery is samsara. Right? So therefore, idea is that we have to identify what our miseries are in subtle form, not the gross ones. The gross ones everybody knows. Everybody knows. In subtle form. And the subtle form, particularly about the ignorance, how we are vulnerable to ignorance. Right? So this we're going to learn. So once you learn this, then we know in what way we are weak. And yet, our true nature is not weak. Our true nature is so strong. It's so perfect. So our now job is to eradicate this weakness and let our true nature come out. That we don't fall prey to any other factors. So, what kind of weaknesses are there? There are 8 weaknesses. These 8 weaknesses are known as 8 mundane concerns. 8 mundane concerns, right? Same 4 attraction and 4 repulsion. 4 attraction and 4 repulsion. They go in pairs. Say the material resource. Material resource. Material resource. When you get material resources, you are excited. Birthday gifts, right? When somebody gives you with the birthday parcel or package, we're excited, becoming easily excited by the birthday gift. So whether you are happy, excited, or unhappy, it is not in your hand. The birthday gift decides. Birthday gift decides. External factor decides. When you open it, you see that there's nothing which is useful for you, right? Then you become so demoralized. Again, the birthday gift decides whether you are happy or unhappy, right? So, whether you're happy or unhappy is not really in your hand. It's decided by external factor, which means we're weak. We don't have the freedom to choose. Birthday gift chooses whether you're happy or unhappy. So therefore, one is pertaining to material gifts. Gaining material gifts excites you. In other words, getting excited over gaining material gifts, material resources, and feeling demoralized over losing material resources, right? Feeling demoralized over losing material resources. And it is not that, okay, now I come to the Jambi Bodhicitta retreat, so now from tomorrow onwards I'll not have the 8 mundane concerns, right? It's not that easy. So the progress is always from 0.0001 like this. The progress is like this, right? As long as the progress is there, we are very lucky. Okay. So one is pertaining to the material resources. getting excited over material, gaining material resources, one, and getting demoralized over losing material resources. Pair, two. The next one is pertaining to say the words. Words. Somebody talks about, so say somebody talks about actors and actresses and the new brands, clothes, iPhone 7, 8 Plus, which is yet to come. iPhone 8 Plus, yet to come or already come? It's coming. Wow. I didn't know that. Okay, 8 Plus, yet to come, they're coming now, right? So we talk about 8, then the moment these talks come about, you become elated. We become elated. Then the moment Bodhicitta, wisdom emptiness, the 5 levels of emptiness. What 5 levels? Right? Okay, so the words, the mundane words, they excite us. And the more meaningful words, they make us feel tired. Right? So, getting excited over the mundane words, pleasant words, and demoralized over hearing unpleasant words. So that is another pair. 4. And then the praise. Somebody praises you, praises. The praise, one gets excited, one is so happy, elated, and when somebody deprecates you, instead of praising, somebody criticizes you, deprecates you, you feel so low. So this is another pair. 6. And then the last 2 is happiness and pain. When you're happy, and then you become so elated. When you're happy, you become so elated, excited. For example, say His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when he was awarded the Nobel Prize. Okay, what would be your experience if somebody awards you with Nobel Peace Prize? That too. What is your experience? What would be your reaction? Huh? Did you see the Olympic athletes and the Open Wimbledon champion, right, and the football World Cup and so forth? When they win, what was the most common reaction? Oftentimes people, they start crying out of excitement. Yes, no? They become so excited, and then this excitation makes them to break into tears, right? So whereas His Holiness the Dalai Lama receiving Nobel Peace Prize, he was sitting there, and then the Nobel Peace Prize is awarded to the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. And if you don't know him, right, you will not know who that person is. He's there. You will not know who that person is. Because he's just as calm, composed as any other person, right? No excitement, right? Acknowledgement is there, but not easily excited. So therefore, this is the control, self-control, right? So you are not controlled by external factors, by the awards, by the gifts, and so forth. The control is in your hand. Okay, so when you're happy, you become excited. When you are unhappy, when you're in pain, then you feel so demoralized. Again, these are also 2 mundane concerns. Total, there are 8 mundane concerns. 2 pertaining to the material resources, 2 pertaining to the words, pleasant or unpleasant, 2 pertaining to the praise and deprecation, 2 pertaining to the happiness and pains. Right? These are the 8 worldly concerns. So say you are affected by the 8 worldly concerns, more spiritually evolved you are. More easily affected by the 8 mundane concerns, more ordinary we are. So this is how we judge. And after coming to both the Jambi Bodhicitta retreat, right, and then see if you want to test your holiness or your degree of improvement, not after 11 days, of course. So that within 11 days, this is like we are getting we'll try to get new eyes to see the dharma, right? Then after getting the eyes, your job is to actually go there, start walking. And to what degree you have walked, see after like 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, if you see that you are less affected by the 8 mundane concerns, which means that you are very successful in your Dharma practice. Whereas if you are still easily affected, right, to the extent that, okay, I will not say digress too much, right? Okay, so there, the me and you, this kind of thought, if that invigorates, it increases, then it's a sign of reverse, going U-turn, right? Okay, so it maintains. 21, page 21, first line. From my two collections, what are the two collections? One is the collection of merit, and the other is the collection of wisdom. Collection of wisdom and merit. Okay. Okay, page 30. Page 30. Page 30, stanza 11. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the two attainments, what are the two attainments? One is the mundane attainments, and the other one is supramundane attainments. Mundane attainments like, say, the power to read others' mind, and then flying without depends on external the objects, and then walking on the water bodies, and then disappearing your physical appearance, making yourself invisible, right? Physically invisible. Okay, so these are the mundane attainments, mundane qualities, mundane results, mundane feats. And the supramundane feats, such is all purely mental qualities, like say gate paragate. When you reach the paragate, the path of seeing emptiness directly. And then very high level bodhicitta, and then particularly in the context of tantra, there is what is known as illusory body, physical body wise, illusory body, and the mental, it is known as the meaning clear light. Okay, don't ask me what is meaning clear light. We have to extend our bodhicitta retreat another 2 months. Right? So this you will slowly learn. So that falls under the 4+1 in that one. Right? 4+1 we said. 4+1. What I'm talking now falls under this category 1, which is a part of the 4+1. That one. Right? So this you will come only after 4. Not now. Okay, so in that illusory body, meaning clear light, and the union of the two truths. Union of the two truths in the context of Tantra. So these all fall under the category of the supramundane attainments. Illusory body, meaning clear light, the union of the two truths, and then finally the Buddhahood. They all fall under the supramundane attainments. Okay, then the stanza 12. Then having realized the importance of the two stages. What are the 2 stages, right? So this again as part of the Tantra. Tantric practice, and particularly HYT, Tantric practice, it is of two kinds. One is known as generation stage, other one is completion stage. Two stages referring to generation stage and completion stage. Okay, so with this, there are many more. There could be more of the numbers. And then, for your information, this book is a very, very, very precious book. This you will not find in the markets, right? Very precious book. This is a compilation of the many teachings, short teachings, which His Holiness the Dalai Lama gave on the various texts. Which are compiled over the last almost 10-12 years, and it's all compiled together here. And now this is coming in a proper publication is coming up. proper publications coming up with the glossaries, with the footnote, with the endnotes, all these things coming. All what we're discussing now, 2 attainments, 2 stages, the 8 minute concerns, all these things you will find as some endnotes. So this is coming soon and will be made available, say hard copies as well as soft copies. Okay, so with this, this is the prayer that we're going to do, every practice which we're going to do every morning. And the basic structure of our practice, the 11-day program is the morning practice. The morning practice, I would say that if they are amongst the audience, if there are some of you who have, say, several hours of your personal practice, hours of personal practice, and you need your time, I would say that it is not necessary for you to come. And keep in mind that you know how to practice, right? You know how to practice. So in which case, you may not come. You can do your own practice in your own rooms. Whereas, and then those of you who already took part in the Bali retreat and other retreats, so you know the structure, how to practice, and you are actually practicing, right? And then I would say that instead of coming, you can stay in your room, do your practice there. Meanwhile, we have to keep in mind that coming in group and doing the practice in group has a very unique power. That also keep in mind. And if you think that you don't have the very, say, the long time-taking, time-consuming, the sadhanas and so forth, and then it's just the practice that we have been doing during the retreats, then you can join us here. That would be more powerful because it's just 11 days. And then after that, even if you like to do it with the group, you cannot do it. So better you come in group. And then some of you who might have health issues, say you might have to sleep till 7 like this with health issues. Some people, because if you are on heavy drugs, if you have to take heavy medication, when you have heavy medication, the medication will make your body so lax, so which requires more rest and sleep, right? So if this is the case, don't push yourself to come here. Make sure that your health is number one important thing. This is so important. Your health is so important. So, but those of you who are not on the heavy medication and still want to, right? Okay, you have no exception. With the heavy medication, you can make sure that your health is very important. This is number one important thing, right? And then others, you come here. And then those of you who have been into, say, practice, sadhana and so many hours of sadhana and so forth, and yet who have never come to this kind of retreat, Bodhicitta retreat, I would suggest, and if you need your own time, like 2-3 hours by yourself, and for this, if this is the case, I would say that you can stay in your room, do your own practice. Meanwhile, just from these 11 days, see if you can come for at least 1 or 2 times, so that you will see what is being done there, and then see if in your practice what can be added from this. You will learn. So the most important thing why we are placing so much emphasis on the morning practice is that people know how to do the morning practice, daily practice, right? And then once you know how to do the morning practice, from there you will see that usually it takes like 1.5 hours or 2 hours. Usually it takes like 2 hours. And then what we have here is that, okay, that's good. 5:45, good. Okay. So you will learn how to do the practice for like 2 hours. And then from this, once you know how to do the practice in 2 hours, from there you will learn later on. When please remind me. Later on, then we will see how to abridge, how to make this practice shorter. If you have like 1 hour. Or how you do this, if you have like half an hour, right? Or like 20 minutes. So this we will do later. Once you know the whole practice, full-fledged practice, then from there you will know how to condense it. Like 1 hour, 40 minutes, 20 minutes, and so forth. Okay, this is a basic idea for us to know how to extract the greatest meaning out of life through a concrete practice. One. Then the part of the what we're doing, there is the group discussion. Group discussion. So group discussion, it is split into 6 groups. 6 groups. And so the basic idea is, for the group discussions, it is very important that we all try our best, try to make the most of the group discussions, right? All of us. Even if though you may be totally new to this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just take part in it. And particularly, when so kindly split that into 6 groups, more groups. More groups means more people will get the chance to speak. That is so important. So important. And what was it? And of course, amongst the audience, some of you are more exposed to the dharma. Some of you are less exposed. And particularly those who are more exposed, I would request you to be as kind towards the beginners. As kind towards the beginners. And at times, if you hear the same question which you've been hearing for the same question, you heard it for so many times, don't feel tired. Okay, the same thing, right? Listen to it as well as you are hearing for the first time, right? To inspire the other person, to inspire them. This is so important, so important. Just see how to uplift the beginners. That is very important. And even the beginners, make sure that you speak. This is so important. And those of us who who are more exposed, of course, just stay there, and where the appropriate the information needs to be added or given, give the information and make it as short as possible. Short and succinct, that others can understand it, and let others also speak more. That is so important. That's so important, right? So what I'm saying is that make the most out of the group discussions, and I'll also try to come, right? Maybe the one group discussion I may go to like 2 or 3 groups, and then the next group discussion I may go to the next groups like this. I'll also try to come to see around. Okay, this one thing. And then when I already explained to you, so this book will be with you during your breakfast, during your lunch, and during your dinner, right? And when I also explained to you the food offerings, right? Food offerings, what we do is that, usually what we do for all these retreats is that we all go there at the dining hall, and then people will take turn. People will take turn to lead the recitation. We read like, say, 20 stanzas in one go. 20 stanzas. And then whoever will be the chant, the recitation leader, the person, say for example, one text has 60 stanzas, and then you already read the first part, 20 stanzas. Now, for the next meal, you are reading the second part, which is, you start from stanza 21. Don't just read stanza 21 directly. You mention the title of the text, you mention the author. These two are very important. And reading these texts are like 20 stanzas before the meal. Why it is made is because that what we are going to study, they are all crystallized. They are all crystallized in these short texts, right? So that if you take part in this reading, then that suffices you attending the same retreat like 3 or 4 times. Because if I were to teach this book, it will at least take like another 2-3 the retreats. So by reading this and you being very fresh of what we are learning, from there you read this, you will get the meanings quite clearly. So that suffices attending the same retreat 2 or 3 times. You're getting it? So this is so important. And we will try best. We'll try best to make sure that we sit not just in one table here or one scattered. Instead of that, we'll sit in a table in a row, so that we all see to each other. We feel that we are a group. We're a group. We say the prayers together. We read the text together. We say the offering food together. And for the offering food, I think there should be one stanza there. I should mention this. Okay, after where's the food offering stanza? 304. Please turn to page 304. Turn to page 304. Okay, 304 on the food offering. Food offering. The first stanza is the one which I compiled to make it to make things a little easily understandable. And then the next one, Sangye Yunde and Sami, that is in Tibetan. We're going to read that in Tibetan also. Tibetan. This one, why made this in Tibetan to be read is because that whenever you attend His Holiness's teachings during the tea break, the tea offering, all these things are done with this prayer. There are so many versions of the food offering prayers, but this one which is commonly used during His Holiness's teaching. So if you know this by heart, you learn this by heart, then you will feel yourself as a part of His Holiness's teaching there, right? Okay, one, and then the next one. And then you also read the English translation. The next Tibetan, this is the one which is most commonly said by the Tibetans. The second one. So if you learn this by heart, whenever you meet Tibetans, whenever you are in part of Tibetan, for lunch and so forth, if you make this offering, then Tibetans will feel that you are Tibetan. Yeah. Okay. So then one important thing is, after this, I like to share this with you. I personally add page 34. Page 34. Page 34. The first stanza, which reads, I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. Okay, this stanza I always add whenever I make food offerings. At the end, I add this. So this is for us to remind of Bodhicitta. Say, for example, how many times you have your meals? 3 times? At least 3 times of Bodhicitta activation happens. 3 times of Bodhicitta, 3 times plus your daily practice, 4 times. 4 times Bodhicitta activation is happening within you, right? So, for Bodhicitta practice experience, it is not that you learn it and you understand it and you get the Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is very different. You learn it, you understand it, but experience-wise, it can be still 0. Right? For experience, it will take time. It will take time to know about Bodhicitta. Maximum, it will take you like 1 week to know about Bodhicitta in complete form. Maximum, it will take you like 1 week. But to experience Bodhicitta, it may take you years and years. So for that, we need time. Time what? Okay, let me wait for the next 10 years. And then automatically it will come. It will never come automatically. Time means in time you have to activate it. Keep activating it. Keep activating it. Right? So at least we're going to activate the Bodhicitta 4 times a day. Same, 1 morning session, 1 evening session, before you go to bed, 2, plus 3 meals, 5 times a day. Right? So these are the skills by which you make the most out of your day, and that the Bodhicitta, you experience Bodhicitta takes birth in you as soon as possible. Okay, this is the purpose. Okay, so this is what you're going to do, and I would suggest that try your best to show up for reading the text and making the offering. So make the most out of our being here, right? Okay. Anything else? Okay, then the water ball offering and so forth. What I would suggest is that it is good if we can all learn how to make the offerings, right? Now, I would request the Wenla, perhaps the Wenla must have already assigned you or already told you. Idea is that usually what we do is that for the retreats, what we do is that we have like where the water balls is, say, the numerous water balls, so many. Then what we do is that we have like three participants every day by rotation responsible to make the offerings, because that what we have here is not much, so 2 is enough. So what we do is that one person, for example, tomorrow, one person should be someone who knows how to do this, and the second person can be a newcomer. Newcomer meaning who doesn't know, doesn't have any idea as to how to make the offerings, number 2. Then the next day, the first person will be off, and then you as a newcomer, now you're no more newcomer. Now you know how to do that. Now your responsibility is to teach the next person. Right? Okay, number 2. So this is how we all learn how to make the offerings, right? And amongst those who know already how to make offerings so forth, for example, yesterday we have Linda. Where is Linda? Hey, Linda, yesterday I see that you know that. So those of us who know how to make the offerings, you can volunteer. And it's not necessary there should be only 2. There can be 3 also, right? Volunteer. And those who know, don't do it yourself, right? Don't do it yourself. Make others self-sufficient. You stay away, keep watching, let others do, and then verbally tell how to do, right? Let others learn. Okay, this is very important. Anything else? I think that's it. Right? Okay, so on the afternoon we will meet again at 3. Well, at 3, right? Okay, we meet at 3. Okay, 3. And okay, yes, silence. About the silence, idea is that because that what we are doing here is very, very analytical. Very, very analytical. It requires tremendous analysis. So therefore, I'm not so keen, particularly with the Bodhicitta retreat, where there are so many newcomers, and then it involves lots of analytical thinking, and people need help for clarification and so forth. So I don't make the retreat strictly to be observing silence. So what we do is that after dinner, till the next morning breakfast, to be observed strict silence. In the daytime, right, except for Dharma discussions, otherwise silence. So this is what we should be doing, right? Okay. And then the evening discussion is optional. Evening. So otherwise, every day there are going to be 2 discussions, group discussions. Evening one is optional. You can come, right? Okay. I think that's it. And then
what about the breaks from the entertainment or news?
Okay. So basically, okay, that's true. What I would suggest, and then we cannot really take out all the television sets, right? So what I would suggest is, I'm very thankful to Sonala for bringing this up. This is very important. Try to create the environment of retreat, which means that see the television, see how you can refrain, how much you can refrain from thing, and then say for your Wi-Fi, right? See that you can inform your friends and you inform your family members and so forth, unless really necessary. I may not be able to contact you, like this, right? Just try your best to refrain from using the internet and to be in front of a television set. Try to create the environment. Now the next thing is, okay, how I wish that we have the retreat in some other place where there's no television set, so that I don't worry about it, right? So now, because this is the situation, let us try. Who is a real practitioner? Two. One without the television, one with television, right? One without the television and refraining from television. This is not refraining, there's no choice. Right? With television, refraining, that's a real refraining. This is a test. This is a test. With the, say for example, usually always like this, iPhone, smartphone like this, always like this, right? Now, with telephone, with smartphone, and not doing like this, keeping it, and without all the smartphones confiscated, and you have nothing to do, right? So nothing to do, this is not a practice. This is, okay, your mind slowly learns how to refrain from it, right? Your mind maybe say, okay, after the retreat, then I'll go after this. But it is there. It is there, right? And still you tell yourself, okay, now this is retreat time. I'm very fortunate that I'm in part of retreat. And more fortunate is that I have it, and I'm seeing how I can refrain from it, how strong I am to refrain from it. This is even a greater opportunity for us, right? So why not we make it the most out of this, right? Same television set. Okay, if any with the news and so forth you like to learn, I can learn after 11 days. Right? Any, say, the other correspondence like how are you and so forth. So how are you? I will say after 11 days. Right? And I ate this food and took the photograph and sent. Right? So this I will do after 11 days. 11 days, I will really make it a retreat. While the things are there, still I will say no to this. And then see how strong you are. Right? Okay, so these are the tests. Yes?
When need to send us information about the news, can it be that maybe one day before then possible? Then at least we in the night we look at the message, then we are aware, then after that we can don't look at the phone anymore. Because sometimes the message might be like 1 or 2 hours
hopefully I think there shouldn't be any more changes on timing, because this few today, especially and yesterday, there's some changes in terms of arrival and everything, so we make some changes. So going forward, strictly follow to this. Actually, there shouldn't be any changes going forward. But I try, if there's any urgent, I try to say as early as I can.
Okay, yes. Okay, so now lunch break.